Are you actually serious? A lot of people might be wondering why I'm talking about this, because to the naked eye, this would seem like nothing. Like, people would say, it's just some old guy that's in the company. It's just another creative writer in the company. Some might say, well, at least it'd be better than Hollywood writers. This man is Bruce Prichard, and is, in my opinion, the worst booker of all time. People always say Vince Russo is. Yeah, you might say Vince might have made mistakes, but I don't like Bruce Prichard. Bruce Prichard, in my humble opinion, is the type of guy who is like in the background, who really causes the most damage, but because he's in the background, no one notices and gets away with it. So these companies keep hiring him and hiring him and hiring him and hiring him. Now, the name Bruce Prichard, some of you might know, but some of you might be like, who is he, Jerry? Was he involved in something or whatever? So, ladies and gentlemen, this man is the actual booker between TNA from 2010 to 2013. Now, a lot of you might be like, oh no. But for those that don't watch TNA, and quite frankly, I don't blame you, 2010 was the worst year in TNA history. It was. The booking from 2010 to 2013 was actually awful. Now, the Aces and Eights, which was actually more of Eric Bischoff's idea, was actually thought was pretty decent. But for the most part, everything else was terrible. And the guy behind this was Bruce Prichard. So, in October 7th, 2010, Prichard had been hired by TNA, presumably to reprise the role he had in WWE working as a backstage agent and producer. So he's a producer. In May 2012, Prichard was promoted to Vice President of Talent Relations to replace Terry Taylor. In October 17, 2012, Prichard was then promoted as Senior Vice President of Programming and Talent Relations. In this new role, Prichard oversaw talent relations, talent scouting and development, as well as the creative direction of the company, which in 2012, as you know, was absolutely terrible. A year later, in May 2013, Prichard began appearing as a judge alongside Al Snow Taz as a monthly gut check segment, which was awful, by the way. I know TNA fans might defend this, but that segment was terrible. TNA released Prichard only within that year. So he failed so much, so he was promoted as like a producer, vice president, then senior president, then development of talent relations, and then got fired on the same year that he was a year after he was promoted as senior vice president of programming and talent relations. That's a great guy to bring into the company. You see what I mean? He then returned to TNA in 2017, which in fact TNA fans did not like. 2017. By the way, some people might say, oh, was he the guy that came up with the Matt Hardy thing? It wasn't. It was Jeremy Borash and Matt Hardy that actually came up with that story. So, just so you know. He then was involved in Major League Wrestling, and now he is now involved in WWE. And he is now in a major creative role within WWE. Get ready for the absolute cheese fest, because if you thought WWE was cheesy enough, this guy is the definition of cheese. This guy and his booking methods are so bad that I don't know why no one calls this guy out on it. Everyone says that Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, some people say Jim Cornette as well are the worst of the worst. No, they're not. In my humble opinion, Bruce Prichard is actually the worst. Rather than bringing young guys in that want to see new stories develop, and I understand that these Hollywood types that they have in WWE, these Hollywood writers are bad as well, but, you know, rather than, you know, having someone that might be creative, that might say, listen, maybe we should change this, and this, no, we're going to bring the old guy in, and he's going to have people in turkey suits, and that's what's going to happen, folks, you know what I mean? This is a bad thing, like, and no one's talking about it, no one's saying that this is like a great thing. This guy is terrible. I mean, he is really bad. I mean, awful booker. He has a really shitty podcast that I don't give a fuck about. It's awful. he reminisce about the old days, and then he's like, oh, I remember when you did this and you did that, and it's just stupid stories to get over. Like, all these people are all the same that were former bookers. They all try and let on that they're the best and they were better than everyone else. When in reality, in my humble opinion, Bruce Prichard is the worst booker in WWE history. He was also like some brother love, or I don't know what he was. Like, he had like a red face and it was just terrible. It was awful. I don't like him, and quite frankly, I think that WWE hiring him is a step back. Majorly back. Now, whether he's going to put people in check, maybe in creative, possibly, but in reality, his ideas are just the worst. Now, thank God, like, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but at least, like, Vince McMahon and Triple H are really the last people in line to make stuff go through. But obviously, they might butter up Vince to say, well, this will be amazing because of this, 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 and this, and it ends up worse. Like, the open fight night in TNA was this guy's idea, and it was terrible. It was absolutely awful. Open fight night, it was absolutely awful. Fuck me, I'd rather them hire Sean Z Entertainment. I'm being serious. I would rather have JD from New York as the head of creative than this guy. I'm being serious. I'm really serious. I would rather have JD from New York be the head of creative than this guy. Hell, I'd have Jason. Honestly, Jason's situation, put him as head of creative. Because Jason is a hell of a lot more, probably more creative than this guy ever is. I don't like this man, and there's something really wormy about him as well. I've seen like a few of his podcasts. There's something really wormy about him that I just don't like, and I've got a good feeling like towards certain people, like my reaction to people, and I get a very bad feeling whenever I see this guy because he just looks like a wormy little yes man, like worm that just worms their ways in this company. I'm sick of these people that somehow worm into the company and make it worse. Like, these bookers are just the worst. Like, they just worm into all these companies, and they don't give anyone between the age of 20 to 30 a chance to be maybe head of booking. Like, I don't know, maybe someone that, you know, that you're trying to aim towards their demographic. No, let's stick on the 67-year-old and bump him in. It's fucking fantastic. It's awful. Absolutely awful. Anyway, it's General Jerry on the General Jerry channel, signing out. If you think WWE was bad, it's going to get worse, folks. Trust me.